The Peter Pratter Book of Nursery Rhymes by Leroy F. Jackson. The king had a platter of brisket and batter. This book is copyrighted in 1918. Enjoy practicing your English by following along with this story. Peter Patter told them to me, all the little rhymes, whispered them among the bushes 100 times. Peter lives upon a mountain pretty near the sun, knows the bears and birds and rabbits, nearly every one. He has a home among the alders, bed of cedar bark, walks alone beneath the pine trees, even when it's dark. Squirrels tell him everything that happens in the trees. Cricket in the gander grass sings of all he sees, rhymes from bats and butterflies, crabs and waterfowl, but the best of all he gets from his Uncle Owl. Sometimes when it's daytime, but mostly in the night, they sit beneath an oak tree and hug each other tight, and tell their rhymes and riddles where the catty creatures prowl, funny little Peter Patter and his Uncle Owl. This is a list of the different rhymes that we're going to go through here. We might do them in multiple videos, so be sure to check back and see what other videos we have in our playlist here. We'll try to do a couple each video because they're fairly short. Jingle, jingle, jack, a copper down a crack. A copper down a crack, jingle, jingle, jack, a copper down a crack. 20 men and all their wives, with sticks and picks and pocket knives, digging for their very lives to get the copper back. I'm much too big for a fairy. I'm much too big for a fairy, and much too small for a man. But this is true. Whatever I do it the best I can. Did you ever play tag with a tiger? Did you ever play tag with a tiger? Or ever play boo with a bear? Did you ever put rats in the rain barrel to give poor old Granny a scare? It's fun to play tag with a tiger. It's fun for the bear to say boo. But if rats are found in the rain barrel, old Granny will put you in too. The Blue Song. Hot mush and molasses all in a blue bowl. Eat it, it's good for you, sonny. Will make you grow tall as a telephone pole. Eat it, it's good for you, sonny. Fresh fish and potatoes all on a blue plate. Eat it up smart now, my sonny. Will make you as jolly and fat as Aunt Kate. Eat it up quick now, my sonny. Sweet milk from a nanny goat in a blue cup. Drink it, it's good for you, sonny. Will fill you, expand you, and help you grow up, and make a real man of you, sonny. Hippity hop to bed. Oh, it's hippity hop to bed. I'd rather sit up instead. But when father says must, there's nothing but just go hippity hop to bed. Away to the river. Away to the river, away to the wood, while the grasses are green and the berries are good, where the locusts are scraping their fiddles and bows, and bees keep a-coming wherever one goes. Oh, it's off to the river and off to the hills, to the land of the bloodroot and wild daffodils, with a buttercup blossom to color my chin, and a basket of blurs to put sandberries in. Our little Pat was chasing the cat and kicking the kittens about. When mother said quit, he ran off to sit on top of the woodpile and pout. But a sly little grin soon slid down his chin and let all the sulkiness out. the animal show. Father and Mother and Bobby will go to see all the sights at the animal show, where lions and bears sit on dining room chairs, where a camel is able to stand on a table, where monkeys and seals all travel on wheels, and a Zulu baboon rides a baby balloon. The sooner you're ready, the sooner we'll go. All aboard for the animal show. Tommy Trimble. Billy be nimble, hurry and see. Old Tommy Trimble, climbing a tree. He claws with his fingers and digs with his toes. The longer he lingers, the slower he goes. Dickie, Dickie, Dexter. Dickie, Dickie, Dexter had a wife and vexed her. She put him in a rabbit cage and fed him peppermint and sage. Dickie, Dickie, Dexter. On the road to Tattletown. On the road to Tattletown. What is this I see? A pig upon a pedestal, a cabbage up on a tree, a rabbit cutting capers with a $20 bill. Now if I don't get to Tattletown, then no one ever will. Polly and Peter. Polly had some china cows, and Peter had a gun. She turned the bossies out to browse, and Peterkin for fun just peppered them with butter beans and blew them all to smithereens. Now what will pretty Polly do for milk and cream and butter too? I went to town on Monday. I went to town on Monday to buy myself a coat, but on the way I met a man who traveled with a caravan and bought a billy goat. I went to town on Tuesday and bought a fancy vest. I kept the pretty buckle straps, buttonholes and pocket flaps, and threw away the rest. I went to town on Thursday to buy a loaf of bread. But when I got there, goodness sakes, the town was full of rattlesnakes. The bakers all were dead. I went to town on Saturday to get myself a wife, but when I saw the lady fair, I gashed my teeth and pulled my hair and scampered for my life. Where are you going? Where are you going, Sister Kate? I'm going to swing on the garden gate and watch the fairy gypsies dance their tim-tam-tum on the cabbage plants, the great big one with the purple nose and the tiny tad with pinky toes. Where are you going, Brother Ben? I'm going to build a tiger pen. I'll get iron and steel and electric wire and build it 100 feet or higher. Put 10 tigers in it too, and a big wild cat, and maybe you. Where are you going, mother mine? I'm going to sit by the old grapevine and watch the gliding swallow bring clay for her nest from the meadow spring, clay and straw and a bit of thread to weave it into a baby's bed. Where are you going, Grandma dear? I'm going, love, where the skies are clear, and the light winds lift the poppy flowers, and gather clouds for the summer showers, where the old folks and the children play, on the warm hillside through the livelong day. Christopher Crump. Christopher Crump, all in a lump, sits like a toad on the top of a stump. He stretches and sighs and blinks with his eyes. bats at the beetles, and fights off the flies. Pinky, Pinky, Pang. A tortoise sat on a slippery limb and played his pinky pang for a dogfish friend that called on him. And this is what he sang. Oh, the skies are blue, and I wait for you to come where the willows hang and dance all night by the white moonlight to my pinky, pinky pang. Tick-tock. Tick-tock, tick-tock, 4:11 by the clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock, put your ear to Grandpa's ticker, like a pancake, only thicker. Tick-tock, tick-tock, catch a squirrel in half a minute, grab a sack and stick him in it. Tick-tock, tick-tock, Mr. Bunny feeds on honey, tea and taters, ain't it funny? Tick-tock, tick-tock, when he goes to bed at night, shove his slippers out of sight. That is why old Fox the sinner had to go without his dinner. Tick-tock, tick-tock, so says Grandpa's clock. Under the willow, put down your pillow under the willow, hang up your hat in the sun, and lay down to snooze as long as you choose, for the plowing and sowing are done. Pick up your pillow from under the willow, and clamber out into the sun. Get a fork and a rake for goodness sake, for the harvest time has begun. High on the mantle. High on the mantle rose a moan. It came from an idol carved in bone. Oh, it's so lonesome here alone, with no one here to love me. A cautious smile came over the face of a pensive maid on a Grecian vase. Are you sure, she said with charming grace, there's no one near to love you? Boots, boots, boots. Buster's got a popper gun, a regular one that shoots, and Teddy's got an engine with a whistler that toots. But I've got something finer yet, a pair of rubber boots. Oh, it's boots, 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 a pair of rubber boots. I could walk from here to China in a pair of rubber boots. Butterfly. Butterfly, butterfly, sit on my chin. Your wings are like tinsel, so yellow and thin. Butterfly, butterfly, give me a kiss. If you give me a dozen, there's nothing amiss. Butterfly, butterfly, off to the flowers, wee soulless sprite of the long summer hours. BEELA by the sea. Catch a floater, catch an eel, catch a lazy whale, catch an oyster by the heel and put him in a pail. There's lots of work for Uncle Ike, Fatty Ford and me, all day long and half the night at BEELA by the sea. A matter of taste. Thank you, dear, said the big black ant. I'd like to go home with you now, but I can't. I have to hurry and milk my cows. The aphid herds on the aster boughs, and the ladybug said, no doubt it's fine, this milk you get from your curious kine, but you know quite well, it's my belief, your cows are best turned to beef. Tommy, my son. Tommy, my son, said the old tabby cat, go catch us some mice, and be sure they are fat. There's one family lives in the carpenter's barn. They've made them a nest of the old lady's yarn. But the carpenter has a young cat of his own, that is healthy and proud and almost full grown, and consider it, son, an eternal disgrace to come home at night with a scratch on your face. Oh, said the worm, oh, said the worm, I am awfully tired of sitting in the trees. I want to be a butterfly and chase the bumblebees. Buzzy Brown came home from town, as crazy as a loon. He wore a purple overcoat and sang a Sunday tune. Buzzy Brown came home from town, as proud as he could be. He brought 3 doughnuts and a bun, a-growin' on a tree. The wind came a-whooping down Cranberry Hill and stole an umbrella from Mother McDill. It picked up a paper on Patterson's place and carried it clean to Rockabye Race. And what was more shocking and awful than that, it blew new feather off Grandmother's hat. The Hobo Band. The roads are good and the weather's grand, so I'm off to play in the Hobo Band. With a grass pipe flute and a cowhide drum, I'm going to make the music come. With a toot 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 and a bum bum bum. Just hear me make the music come. A beetle on a broom straw. A robin and a wren, as they walked along one night, saw a big brown beetle on a broom straw. Said the robin to the wren, "What a pretty, pretty sight, that big brown beetle on a broom straw." So they got their plates and knives, their children and their wives, and gobbled up the beetle on the broom straw. Mule Thoughts. A silly little mule sat on a milking stool and tried to write a letter to his father, but he couldn't find the ink, so he said, "I rather think this writing letters home is too much bother." A candle, a candle. A candle, to light my bed, a pillow, to tuck up my head. The moon is as sleepy can be. The stars are all pointing their fingers at me. And Missa Hop Robin, way up in her nest, is rocking her tired little babies to rest. So give me a blanket to tuck up my toes, and a little soft pillow to snuggle my nose. Baxter. Baxter had a billy goat, wally-eyed and double-jointed. He took him to the barber shop and had his head anointed. Lottie, Gin, and Ella Zander. Lottie, Gin, and Ella Zander rode to market on a gander. Brought a crane for $50. Lottie led him by the collar. Mr. Crane said, "Hi there, master. Can't you make my legs work faster? We can't poke along this way." Then he slowly flew away. Lottie held him fast, you bet, and he hasn't come home yet. As I was going down the hill. As I was going down the hill in front of Mrs. Knapp's, I saw the little Knapperines all in their winter wraps, purple mitts and mufflers, and knitted jersey caps. As I was coming back again in front of Mrs. Capp's, I saw that awful lady give about a dozen slaps to every little Knapperine. I thought it was perhaps because they grabbed stickers in their knitted jersey caps. A little boy ran to the end of the sky. A little boy ran to the end of the sky with a rag and a pole and gooseberry pie. He cried, "3 cheers for the 4th of July! with a rag and a pole and gooseberry pie. He saw 3 little donkeys at play. He tickled their noses and made them bray. And he didn't come back until Christmas Day, with a rag and a pole and gooseberry pie. Discretion. A man with a nickel, a sword, and a sickle, a pipe and a pair of pins, set out for the Niger to capture a tiger. And that's how my story begins. When he saw the wide ocean, he soon took a notion 'twould be nicer to stay with his friends. So he traded his hat for a tortoise-shell cat, and that's how the chronicle ends. A beetle once sat on a barberry twig. A beetle once sat on a barberry twig and turned at the crank of a thin gum-a-jig. Needles for hornets, nippers for ants, for the bumblebee baby a new pair of pants, for the grizzled old gopher a hat and a wig, the beetle ground out of his thin gum-a-jig. The thieves. Tidbits and Bibbits and Solomon Sly ran off one day with a cucumber pie. Tidbits was tossed by a Kensington cow. Bibbits was hanged by the brambleweed bough. And poor little Solomon, what do you think, was drowned one night in a bottle of ink. Upon the Irish Sea. Someone told Maria Ann told me that kittens ride in coffee cans upon the Irish Sea. From quiet caves to rolling waves, how jolly it must be to travel in a coffee can upon the Irish Sea. But when it snows and when it blows, how would you like to be a kitten in a coffee pan upon the Irish Sea? Duckle Daisy. Duckle, duckle, daisy. Martha must be crazy. She went and made a Christmas cake of olive oil and gluten flake and set it in the sink to bake. Duckle, duckle, daisy. I've got a new book. I've got a new book from my grandfather Hyde. It's skin on the cover and paper inside, and reads about Arabs and horses and slaves, and tells how the Caliph of Baghdad behaves. I'd not take a goat and dollar beside for the book that I've got from my grandfather Hyde. The Carrot and the Rabbit. A carrot in a garden, and a rabbit in the wood. Said the rabbit, "Beg your pardon, but you surely meant for food. Though you've started in to harden, you may still be very good." Hippy-hi-hoppy. Hippy-hi-hoppy, the big fat toad, greeted his friends at a turn of the road. Said he to the snail, "Here's a ring for your tail, if you'll go into town for my afternoon mail." Said he to the rat, "I've talked with the cat, and she'll nab you so quick you won't know where you're at." Said he to the lizard, "I'm really no wizard, but I'll show you a trick that will tickle your gizzard." Said he to the lark, "When it gets fairly dark, we'll chase the mosquitoes in a peekaboo park." Said he to the owl, "If it were not for your scowl, I'd like you as well as most any wild fowl." Said he to the wren, "You're tiny, but then I'll marry you quick if you'll only say when." Upon the garden gate. Set me up on the garden gate and put on my Sunday tie. I want to be there with a round-eyed stare when the circus band goes by. Give me a big bag of suckerets, give me a piece of gum, then I'll get down and treat the clown, and give the monkey some. Most any chip will do for a ship, if only the cargo be gold sand from the beautiful land of far-off Arcady, for faith will waft the tiny craft o'er fancy's shining sea. A moon song. Who hung his hat on the moon? The owl in his bubble balloon? One bright summer night he sailed out of sight, and hooting like Lucifer, hung in delight his three-cornered hat on the moon. What makes you laugh? What makes you laugh, my little lass? From morning till noon I saw a dappled donkey throwing kisses at the moon. What makes you cry, my little lass, and get your eyes so red? I saw a cruel gardener cut a poor old cabbage head. What makes you run, my little lass? You're almost out of breath. A pumpkin made a face at me and scared me half to death. Timmy O'Toole. When Timmy O'Toole was going to school, he picked up a package of gum. He treated the preacher and the Sunday school teacher and gave a policeman some. A man came from Malden to buy a blue goose. And what came of the gander? He went and got tipsy on blackberry juice. And that was the end of the gander. Baron Batterhoff. The mighty Baron Batterhoff raised a whale in a watering trough. When the whale grew large and flat, he ate the Baron's brindle cat. But Pussy, once inside the whale, began to tickle with her tail. This the monster could not stand, and spewed her up upon dry land. That night, when all was fine as silk, when she had souped her bread and milk, she grinned and told old Batterhoff how she got the whale to cough. 6 little salmon. I sing a funny song from away out west of 6 little salmon with their hats on. How they all left home, but I forget the rest. The 6 little salmon with their hats on. To Gary on the toot-toot. Oh, I want to go to Gary on the toot-toot. Toot-toot, you and I together on the toot-toot. Toot-toot, go run and ask your mother for some kind of cake or other, and a bit of cotton wadding for your ball suit. Get your bobber and a hat, and be back as quick as scat, for we've got to get to Gary on the toot-toot. Double Dune. Bobbin rode a rocking horse way down to Double Dune. He told his little sister he'd be back that afternoon, but maybe after all she didn't understand him right, for he wasn't back again till the middle of the night. And what did little Bobbin see way down at Double Dune? He saw a crazy Arab throwing bubbles at the moon, a monkey making faces, and a rabbit in a rage, a parrot shouting murder from ceiling of his cage. At last a yellow jumping jack, a camel and a coon chased poor little Bobbin all the way from Dumble Dune. The party. Billy Bluebird had a party in an elder tree, but the little black-eyed smarty didn't ask us to his party, neither you nor me. This is what they had for dinner, for I peeked to see apple seeds and beetle finner, and for drink and little sinner gave them tansy tea. But there came an awful clatter from that elder tree, when he served them on a platter, hopper hash and brick dust batter, trimmed with celery. All the folks were hale and hearty, happy as could be, and little black-eyed Smarty left out his funny party. Only you and me. I've got a yellow puppy. I've got a yellow puppy, and I've got a speckled hen. I've got a lot of little spotted piggies in a pen. I've got a gun that used to shoot, another one that squirts. I've got some horehound candy and a pair of woolen shirts. I've got a little rubber ball they use for playing golf, and Mama thinks that's maybe why I've got the whooping cough. Dr. McSwaddle. Dr. McSwaddle filled up a bottle with vinegar, varnish, and rum, and offered a swallow to all who would follow the call of his trumpet and drum. It's good, I am told, for a cough or a cold. It's good for a pain in your thumb. Columbus. Columbus sailed over the ocean blue to find the United States. In 3 small ships he carried his crew, and none of the 3 were mates. He found a land in the western seas, and Indians galore, with jabbering parrots in the trees, and sharks along the shore. He filled his pocket with sparkling stones, and took to the mighty main, with a couple of slaves some nuts and cones, for the glorious King of Spain. Now this is the tale of Columbus told, and most of the tale is true, how he crossed the seas a sailor bold in 1492. Terrible Tim. Haven't you heard of Terrible Tim? Well, don't you get in the way of him. He eats lions for breakfast and leopards for lunch, and gobbles them down with one terrible crunch. He could mix a whole city all up in a mess. He could drink up a sea, or an ocean, I guess. You'd better be watching for Terrible Tim, and run when you first get your peepers on him. What's the use? What's the use, said the goose, to swim like a frog, when you just go as far if you float on a log? Why should I, said the fly, suckle an old apple core, when there's sugar and fruit in the grocery store? But it's right, said the kite, that I follow the wind. What's a fellow to do if he hasn't a mind? You'll allow, said the cow, that I am really no thief, when I turn all the clover I steal into beef. Come again, said the hen, on some other fine day. Don't think 'cause I cackle, I always must lay. All aboard for Bombay. All aboard for Bombay, all aboard for Rome. Leave your sisters and your loving aunts at home. Bring a bit of baling wire, a pocket full of nails, and a half a dozen Wienerwurst for every man that sails. Tell Terry Tagg when you go by, be sure to bring his dog. All aboard for Bombay on a floating cedar log. Water. There's water in the rain barrel and water in the well. There's lots of water in the pond where Hannah Hawkins fell. There's water in the ocean and water in the skies. And when a fellow blubbers, he gets water in his eyes. But in the Baccara Desert where the hippodoodles play, the water in the rivers just dries up and blows away. Old Molly is lowing. Old Molly is lowing and lowing, way down in the old meadow lot. I've given her water and clover and all the apples I've got, but she won't eat a thing that I give her, and never drinks even a sup, for they've taken her baby to market, and someone has eaten it up. I'd just like to go to the city and cut them all up in halves and feed them to sharks and to lions, those people that eat little calves. Snowflakes. The snowflakes are falling by ones and by twos. There's snow on my jacket and snow on my shoes. There's snow on the bushes and snow on the trees. It's snowing on everything now, if you please. Dippy Dippy Davy. Dippy Dippy Davy, half the Royal Navy, in the dampness and the dark, was driving off a savage shark to Dippy Dippy Davy. When I am as rich as Uncle Claus. When I'm as rich as Uncle Claus, with whiskers on my chin, I'm going to have a great big house to put my people in. I'll never let them wander out or ride with me to town. They'll come a-runnin' when I shout and tremble when I frown. I'll have some men in soldier tents, a pirate and his mate, and wildcats all round the fence, and mad dogs at the gate. Rinky Tattle. Rinky Tattle, Rinky Tattle. Rinky Tattle who? Little Tommy Taylor is a Rinky Tattle too. "20 little snowflakes. 20 little snowflakes climbing up a wire. Now listen," said their mother, "don't climb up any higher. The sun will surely catch you and scorch you with his fire." But the naughty little snowflakes didn't mind a word she said. Each tried to clamber faster than his fellow just ahead. They thought that they'd be back in time enough to go to bed, but they found out that their mother wasn't quite the dunce they thought her. The sun bobbed up, remember this, my little son and daughter, and turned those 20 snowflakes into 20 drops of water. Slippery Slim. Slippery Slim, a gardener snake, leaned against a garden rake and smiled a sentimental smile at Tilly Toad on the gravel pile, till that bashful miss was forced to hop and hide her face in a carrot top. The freighter. Through fog and rain I run my train, wherever the track is laid, and over the road I carry a load, whenever the freight is paid. A caddy of tea for Genesee, for Troy an empty crate, a man in brown for Uniontown, to help them celebrate. No one at home. No one at home in the hen house, and no one at home in the barn. Old Brindle has gone to the neighbor's to borrow a skein of brown yarn, to borrow yarn for the darning of socks for her wee spotted calf. The little roll-licking rascal has never enough by half, and Speckle is down by the willow, washing her chicks in the lake, while old Daddy Cockle is laying abed with a bad toothache. Patters and Tatters. Patters had a gallant band, an army made of clay, but Tatters took the garden hose and washed them all away. Crown the king with carrot tops. Crown the king with carrot tops, dress him in satin, give him lots of licorice drops, with suckers in between. For he's a king with lots of power, and awful, awful fierce. He kills a pirate every hour, and washes in his tears. He rides a charger 10 feet high, a dashing dappled gray, his ginger pop and lemon pie for breakfast every day. So get a royal canopy, the finest ever seen, and whiskers for his majesty, and tresses for the queen. The Canada Goose. A Canada goose on the South Palouse is singing her summer song. Her words are wise, and she greets the skies with a voice like a steamer gong. If you harbor your wealth and keep your health, you'll always be rich and strong. Hipperty, clickerty, clackerty, bang. Hipperty, clickerty, clackerty, bang. Get in a corner as fast as you can. The sideboard is tipsy, and the table is mad. The chairs have lost all the sense that they had had. So hipperty, clickerty, clackerty, bang. Get in a corner as fast as you can. Sonny. A sailor gave his sonny nearly half a pint of money, and sent him out to buy a ton of coal. But he met a poor old mister, who told him it were wiser to bury all his money in a hole. A sailor gave his sonny nearly half a pint of money, and told him he should buy a suit of clothes. But he saw a pretty maiden with all kinds of posies laden, and gave her all his money for a rose. Then the sailor gave his sonny nearly half a pint of money to buy a little garden and a house. But he found him the next day in a shop on Yestler way, a-buying cheese and crackers for a mouse. The stove. A stove is a thing that gets awfully hot and fries up your meat or whatever you've got. It's made out of iron and hinges and screws, and fills up with shackers and dampers and flues. It's not very long, and it's not very wide. It's got blackening on top and ashes inside. The Thunder Baby. Have you ever heard of the Thunder Baby? Way up in the big blue sky? You've seen his cradle, maybe, and maybe you've heard him cry. Most of the time he's sleeping, rolled up in a big white cloud, but when he's awake and hungry, he bellows awfully loud. And when he's crying sometimes, you can hear his teardrops fall, with a pitter, with a pat. And when he's crying, sometimes you can hear his teardrops fall, with a patter, 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 against the garden wall. But when he's madder'n mischief, he rolls and growls and spits, and kicks the clouds all 40 ways, and gives the weather fits. Then tears come down in buckets full, and the children dance for joy, till the sun comes out and soundly spanks the Thunder Baby boy. Hinky Pinky Pearly Earl. Hinky Pinky Pearly Earl, 20 nobles and a churl. Some are fat and some are lean, one in red and one in green. Prior, priest, and pearly earl, 20 nobles had a churl. Tipsy Tom. Tipsy Tom, the naughty fellow, dressed his wife in pink and yellow, set her in an apple tree, and said, "Now catch a bumblebee." Jolly Jinks. Jolly Jinks, the sailor man, went to sea in an oyster can, but he found the water wet. Fishes got into his net, so he poled his boat to shore and vowed he'd sail the seas no more. Transformation. Auntie Ellen found her poodle, mercy, goodness sake, playing with Mully Wumps down along the lake. And when she called him tenderly, he didn't want to come. It took her half an hour to get the rascal home. She washed him well with shaving soap, Punnett stone and lye. She showered him and scoured him, and hung him up to dry, and now he sits there quite serene, the sweetest poodle ever seen. The Thief Chase. Bricks and bones, sticks and stones, I chased a thief through 20 zones. I found his hat on Ararat, and hurried as quick as a scat. In a day or two I found his shoe, where he had sailed for Timbuktu. I met the goat that ate his coat, upon the road to Terrehout. At last, all worn and quite forlorn, I chased him up the Matterhorn. Somebody. Somebody give me a peanut, somebody give me a pear. I want to go down to the circus and feed all the animals there. Consolation. A dime and a dollar took me by the collar and whispered this word in my ear, "We must leave you tomorrow. But prithee don't sorrow, we'll come back to see you next year." The Robin and the Squirrel. Said the Robin to the Squirrel, "How do you do?" Said the Squirrel to the Robin, "How are you?" "Oh, I've got some cherry pies and half a dozen flies, and a kettle full of beetles on a stew." Said the Squirrel to the Robin, "How do you do?" Said the Robin to the Squirrel, "How are you?" "I've a nest that's nice and neat, and a wife that can't be beat, and I'm every bit as happy now as you." The King had a platter. The King had a platter of brisket and batter. The Prince had a Bellington bun. The Queen had a rose to put to her nose as soon as dinner was done. Rain. The lightning split the sky in two and set the clouds to leaking, just as dear old Pastor Brown began his Sunday speaking. He told about the awful rain that fell in Noah's day, and one by one the happy smiles began to fade away. In half an hour the people all put on their rubber coats, and when he finished every one was out and building boats. Old Farmer McNether. Old Father McNever, he sorts out the weather and takes what he pleases, I'm told. With a big turkey feather he mixes the weather and makes it blow hot and blow cold. Jerry was a joker. Jerry was a joker. He carried off the poker and dressed it up from head to heel in clover tops and orange peel, and fed it bones and barley meal. Poor old rusty poker. King Kokum. King Kokum lay snoozing upon his brass bed. Oh, play an old tune on your fiddle, with shoes on his feet and a crown on his head. Oh, tune up your rusty old fiddle. He dreamed of a land where the lions were tame, where they fried their lamb chops on a griddle, where they called all the parrots and monkeys by name. Oh, play us a tune on your fiddle. He dreamed of a sea filled with raspberry pop, with a coconut island in the middle, where the stones and the boulders had icing on top. Go strike up a tune on your fiddle. He dreamed of a sky where the moonbeams all danced while a comet was telling a riddle, where the stars and the planets and sundogs all pranced while the moon played his fiddle-de-diddle. Old Mrs. Skinner. Old Mrs. Skinner had dumplings for dinner and sat on a very high stool. When she cut through the hide, there was nothing inside, which I'm sure was not often the rule. Oh mother, come quickly and see, the house and the farmyard have gone on a spree. The pigs in the pantry, the chickens are out, the parrot is perched on the tea kettle spout. Oh mercy, oh my mercy, oh what shall I do? A rat has run off with my very best shoe. Celery and Tommy too. Two funny friends that you all know are Celery and Tommy too. About as queer as friends can be are Tommy too and Celery. For hours they sit there, grin and stable, side by side upon the table. Tom is red and Capella pale. His blushes are of no avail. She sits in spite of his endeavor, as firm and undisturbed as ever. A funny pair, you must agree, this Tommy Toe and Celery. If I were richer. If I were richer, I'd buy a picture with scenery on it, Jalisa wear, sporks here and there, a funny affair with ladies on it. In half a minute I'd mix up in it a wonderful drink, peppermint, ice, lemons and spice. Tastes pretty nice. What do you think? The Army of the Queen. Oh, the army of the Queen, the army of the Queen. Some are dressed in turkey red, and some are dressed in green. A colonel and a captain, a corporal in between. Their guns are filled with powder, and their swords are bright and keen. So toot your little trumpet for the army of the Queen. Romulus. Romulus, Romulus, father of Rome, run off with a wolf, and he wouldn't come home. When he grew up, he founded a city with an eagle, a bear, and a tortoise-shell kitty. The hero. My dad was a soldier and fought in the wars. My grandfather fought on the sea, and the tales of their daring and valor, of course, put the sand and the ginger in me. I'm not scared of tigers or any wild beasts. I could fight with a lion all right. I wouldn't be afraid of a bear in the least, excepting perhaps in the night. But sister, she's scary as scary can be. She's even afraid of the bark of a tree. Pensive Percy. Percy, when a little boy, was quiet as a mouse. He never set the barn afire, nor battered down the house. He used to sit for hours and hours just gazing at the moon, and feeding little fishes sarsaparilla from a spoon. Moon, oh moon in the empty sky. Moon, oh moon in the empty sky, why do you swing so low? Pretty moon with the silver ring, and the long bright beams where the fairies cling, where do you always go? I go to the land of the Shamiz, Ceylon and the great plateau, over the seas where Sinbad sailed, where Moses crossed the Pharaoh failed. There's where I always go. The Ragman. Ragman, Ragman, taggy, taggy, Ragman, tell us what you've got there in your sack. Oh, it's full of rhymes and riddles, jingles, jokes, and high diddles, this bundle that I carry on my back. Oh, tell us, funny Ragman, grinny, skinny Ragman, where did you pick up your funny rhymes? Some were dancing with cornflowers, some were hiding in church towers, and sprinkled helter-skelter by the chimes. Ragman, Ragman, nice old taggy Ragman, sing us one jingle, tingle song. Why, my dears, I've got a plenty. Sing you one, I'll sing you 20. I've been hoping you would ask me all along. Whenever I go out to walk, all the geese begin to gawk, and when I start to wander back, all the ducks begin to quack. A free show. Mr. McCoon can whistle a tune. Old Uncle Strong can sing us a song. Benjamin Biddle can play on the fiddle. Captain O'Trigg can dance us a jig. And I, if I'm able, will tell you a fable. Billy Bumpkins. Hi-ho, Billy Bumpkins, how'd you grow your pumpkins? At 6 o'clock I sow 'em, at 10 o'clock I hoe 'em, and just before I goes to bed I puts 'em in the pumpkin shed. Tell us, Billy Bumpkins, how'd you sell your pumpkins? I lends 'em to the ladies, I gives 'em to the babies, and trades 100 for a kiss to any pretty little miss. Blue flames and red flames, blue flames and red flames, in a world all dark, blue flames and red flames, and a tiny little spark, hurrying to heaven, lest it should be late, lest the cautious seraphim closes the shining gate, and leave the little wanderer forevermore to fly, like an orphan angel, through all the endless sky. Timothy Grady. Poor little Timothy Grady screwed up his face at a lady, and Jimmy Jack, it wouldn't come back. The louder he hollered, the tighter it grew. His eyes all red, and his lips are all blue. Oh, mercy my, what in the world will he do? Poor little Timmy Grady. Captain Tickle and his nickel. Captain Tickle had a nickel in a paper sack. He threw it in the river, and he couldn't get it back. Captain Tickle spent his nickel for a rubber ball, and when he cut it open, there was nothing there at all. Grandmother Grundy. Oh, Grandmother Grundy, now what would you say if the katydids carried your glasses away, carried them off to the top of the sky, and used them to watch the eclipses go by? Needles and pins. Needles and pins, hooks and eyes, I saw a doughnut in the skies. Flipper Jinkson, the circus clown, climbed a tree and got it down. A tow rhyme. Tassel is a captain, Tinsel is a mayor, Tony is a baker boy with lassies in his hair, Tipsy is a sailor with anchors on his chest, and Tiny is the baby boy who bosses all the rest. Harry Hooker. Harry Hooker had a book and couldn't find a teacher, but still he managed very well. He climbed a box and rang a bell and turned into a preacher. Jelly Jake and Butter Bill. Jelly Jake and Butter Bill, one dark night, when all was still, pattered down the long dark stair, and no one saw the guilty pair, pushed aside the pantry door, and there found everything galore, honey, raisins, orange peel, cold chicken aplenty for a meal, gingerbread enough to fill 2 such boys as Jake and Bill. Well, they ate and ate and ate, gobbled at an awful rate, till I'm sure they soon weighed more than double what they did before. And then it's awful, still it's true, the floor gave away, and they went through, filled so full they couldn't fight. Slowly they sank out of sight. Father, mother, cousin Ann, cook and nurse and furnace man, fished for 40 dozen ways, after them for 20 days. Not a soul has chanced to get a glimpse or glimmer of them yet, and I'm afraid we never will. Poor Jelly Jake and Butter Bill. Cut up a caper. Cut up a caper, you've got a paper, and you've got a widget of string. You be the army, and let nothing harm me, for I am the captain and king. Eat, eat, eat. Here come the sweet potatoes, and here's the Sunday meat. I guess we must be ready now to eat, eat, eat. I'm going to have the nicety plate, and Daddy's leather seat, and wear my patent leather shoes to eat, eat, eat. My Daddy's talking all about the war and some old fleet. I wonder if he never, never, never wants to eat. We're going to have some apple cake. We're going to have a treat. Oh, hurry, hurry, Daddy. Let us eat, eat, eat. Hetty Hutton. Hetty Hutton, here's a button. Sew it on your dress. Willie Waller, here's $1, maybe more or less. Mr. Schuster, here's a rooster. Put him in a pen. Mr. Saxon, get an axon. Let him out again. A big fat potato. A big fat potato lay down on a cloud, in the shade of some burdock and tall goldenrod, and he dreamed he were king of the whole garden plot, with a palace and throne, and a crown with a lot of jewels and diamonds and gold till it shone, like the front of a show when the lights were turned on. He had to be minded by all of the plants. When he whistled and radishes knew they must dance. When he tooted his horn the cucumbers must sing. To a vegetable crowd gathered around in a ring, he made all the cabbages stand in a row, while a sunflower instructed them just how to grow. The bright yellow pumpkins he painted light blue. He took the clothes off the scarecrow and made him buy new. He strutted and sputtered and thought it was grand to be king and commander o'er all the wide land. But at last he woke up with an awful surprise, and found a blind mole kicking sand in his eyes. A bundle of hay. A bundle of hay from Maffin's Bay, a Johnny cake from Rome, a man and a mule from Ultima Thule to carry the cargo home. Peter Popper. Peter Popper Dopper Dan, catch a moonbeam if you can, climb a cedar 10 feet high, and pick the planets from the sky. You're a wonder, little man, Peter Popper Dopper Dan. Old Father Annum. Old Father Annum on New Year's Day picked up his bag of months and years, thrust in his hand in a careless way, and pulled the wee fellow out by the ears. "There you are," said he to the waiting crowd. "He's as good as any I have in my pack. I never can tell, but I hope to be proud of the little rascal when I come back." The Tiffany Flower. Oh, what will you take for a Tiffany flower, and what will you take for a pansy? I'll take a smile for the Tiffany flower, and a kiss for the pretty pansy. Here comes a cabbage. Here comes a cabbage with a bonnet on its head, a pretty purple bonnet with a bow of blue and red. And here comes a bottle with a collar around its neck, a handsome linen collar too, without a spot or speck. Next comes a meat saw, his job is biting beef, and according to the cleaver, he's got gold in all his teeth. And last of all there comes along, amid the ringing cheers, a princely Indian cornstalk with ringing in both his ears. Plenty. There are plenty of feathers on a hen and prickers on a rose. There is plenty of roaring in a den of lions, goodness knows. There are plenty of fishes in the lake and islands in the sea. There are plenty of raisins in this cake for even you and me. The Runaways. A pipe and a spoon and 10-penny nail. Stole a tin dishpan and went for a sail. But the cook, he grew curious, fussy and furious, gathered his trappings and went on their trail. He found them that night in a pitiful plight, and sent them all home on the 10 o'clock mail. The Salesman. Hi, hi, who will buy a wee little cloud for the pretty blue sky? Some are purple, some are red, all are soft as feather bed. Hi, little children, won't anyone buy one little cloud for the pretty blue sky? A race to Moscow. A race to Moscow before the close of day. A race to Moscow, a long, long way. First comes a butterfly a-riding on a frog. Next comes a water rat a-floating on a log. A caterpillar on the fence, a hopper in the hay. Who will get to Moscow before the close of the day? A prince from Pepperville. A prince came down from Pepperville in satin and in lace. He wore a bonnet on his head and whiskers on his face. And when he came to Battleburg, this is what befell. He gave the king and cabinet a half a peanut shell. Boats. Hitch up your cattle and drive to Seattle to see all the boats come in from Quibi and Caibo and Panama Doby and some of the islands of Nim. They're bringing us rices and cocoa and spices and pineapples drawn up in tin, and maybe Aunt Diane will come back from China, but never the boats get in. Pretty things, pretty poppies, pretty trees, pretty little lettuce leaves, pretty pebbles, red and brown, pretty floating thistledown, pretty baby, curly head, standing in a pansy bed, pretty clouds, all white and curled. Oh, the great big pretty world. Did you ever go to the watering trough and watch the sparrows drink? Did you ever go to Potter's Pond and see the divers sink? Did you ever steal to the barn at night and watch the hoot owls think? Hootum tootum, clear the track. Hootum tootum, clear the track. I caught a coon on Camimac. Colonel Clapp and Uncle Rome have hired a hack to bring it home. Dr. Drake. On a hummock by the lake stands the home of Dr. Drake. Poor old doctor, how he works. Week by week he never shirks. Pulling teeth for guinea fowl, soothing puppies when they howl, whittling out a hickory peg for a gander's broken leg, giving medicine away about 100 times a day, linseed oil and elder bark to a croaking meadow lark, nasty bitter yarrow tea to a tipsy bumblebee, a poultice made of plantain leaves to cure a rabbit with the heaves, fever, colic, cramp or stitch, kitten, croup or beaver's itch, any kind of pain or ache is cured by dear old Dr. Drake. Babies. Come to the land where the babies grow, like flowers in the green, green grass. Tiny babes that swing and crow whenever the warm winds pass, and laugh at their own bright eyes aglow in a fairy-looking glass. Come to the sea where the babies sail in ships of shining pearl, borne to the west by a golden gale of sunbeams all awhirl, and perhaps a baby brother will sail to you, my little girl. 23 thieves from Alibon. 20 thieves from Alion, all with butcher knives, come on dead run, fighting for their lives. See the man from our town in a fancy vest, knocking all the big ones down, chasing all the rest. As I came out of Grundy's Greet. As I came out of Grundy Greet, 4 cats were marching down the street. One was long and gray and thin, with lots of whiskers on his chin, and one was round and sleek and fat. He must have been a butcher's cat. One was dapper, slight and frail, with bells and tassels on his tail, and one had starry yellow eyes, almost as big as pumpkin pies. These 4 came marching down the street as I came out of Grundy Greet.